Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to World Outsourcing Solutions podcast. Today's interview is sponsored by World Outsourcing Solutions, where we specialize in helping business owners with outsourcing and other important business solutions. The title of our talk today is entitled How to Get Started with Business Startups, and I have with me a special guest, Laura Wellington. My name is Yeukai Kechidori, and today I'm talking with business startups Laura Wellington. Welcome to the call, Laura.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here.
Excellent. Now, Laura is a highly successful media and technology entrepreneur, an award-winning children's television series creator, an author, a major social media blogger, and most recently, the CEO and founder of Thread M.B. I think I got that right. Widowed early and the mother of 5 children, Laura realized the importance of giving back in life and work, understanding firsthand where success and fulfillment both arise from. It's great to have you on the call, Laura.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Now, before we go into the main subject of what we're talking about today, would you kindly share with us your background so that our listeners in the audience will have a better understanding of who you are?
Sure. So I graduated college early in 3 years. I went to a university in the state that I grew up in, which was New Jersey. And from there, I actually met my husband at the time, and we began 2 technology companies together prior to us actually getting married. One was basically a software development company where we had proprietary software that we had developed. And one was a support company to that, a consulting company. So we launched those businesses and I began my foray into tech. Myself, I had concentrated on marketing, so it was a good combination at a very good time to launch these companies. My husband at that time, we married, maybe about a year later, and had 4 children. We built the companies up. By the time I was 32, he had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and 3 years later, he passed away. So by 35, I was widowed and needed to actually take over the companies by myself, do turnarounds on those companies, which was the first time I ever turned companies around.
Yes.
Thankfully, I did it successfully.
Yes. Before your husband passed away, you were telling me earlier on that you had managed to build these 2 companies to, a reasonable size, and things were going really, really well. Would you share with our audience about that?
Well, what we had done is we both had continued to work and put money away in order to build the companies. But fortunately, when you create companies like those, you do not really need too much money. You need more to be resourceful and to ferret out a hole in the marketplace. And since we did that, and we both had skills that were very different than each other, but were very complementary. Myself being able to market and sell, and him being able to create the technology side of it. We ended up, using those skills to create the company. And we spent much of the time in creating those tech companies using a lot of outsourced opportunities, outsourced people, especially, which we were able to keep the cost down.
Incredible.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really recommend in business is, where you can outsource, do, and concentrate your efforts on what other people can't do, but which you can bring to the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, after the sad news of your husband passed away, you found yourself in a situation where you now had to do all the marketing, in fact, run the company effectively. How did you move on from being dependent on somebody and now standing on your own 2 feet and moving the company forward?
Well, it's very difficult because I ended up working 24/7. And
Right.
as I had 4 kids as well, I was working on, I'm remaining a mom to them as well. So what I did was I just realistically, I put one foot in front of the other, and the people that we had at the companies, because I had to turn them around, I had to let a number of them go. But the ones that I kept, I knew were people that would not only stick around and help me through, but help grow the company and develop their skills along with the skills that I now needed to develop in order
Right.
to keep going. So so it was tough, but I have to tell you, it was the best. It was one of the best things that could have happened, to me as regarding learning how to run a business and learning how to do a turnaround and learning how to face some of the toughest challenges that you ever face as an entrepreneur. Because just as I had lost him, the market started crashing in the US. And so being in the financial industry with financial software, that was really a challenge to be able to figure out what to do next. And so my decision was to go into the nonprofit world and start reaching into a client base there. And it was a smart decision. And then it also led me into creating the children's television series that I did, because I saw how much of that world was trying to give back. And, obviously after 9/11 it occurred and the financial marketplace started crashing. I also wanted to give back and, teach kids the importance of making the world a better place. So I ended up launching a third company at that time, which might seem crazy, but like you give a busy person something to do and they'll get it done. And so that's what happened to me. And so I created this again. I didn't know what I was doing per se, but it probably was the best thing, because God knows, had I known at that point, I might not have done it. But anyway, long story short, it ended up being very successful in the U.S. and internationally, and I built a brand, and so I learned not only licensing from that, but also how finance factors into television, which factors into product, which factors into basically everything you need to build a venture like that.
Incredible. Are we okay to know the name of the company which you then raised, as the audience here?
Yeah, the companies that I worked that we had was Wellington Financial Systems, Wellington Consulting Company, and then the Giddy Gander Company, and that housed the Wumblers, and that was the television production creation company that I launched. And then in 2011, quite frankly, I started getting really tired, and I had been working for so long, quite hard. And I really thought that I was going to retire, because I had been so successful. And I was, I didn't want to, I think I was burning out in a sense. And that's something that you have to be very careful of when you're working hard. Even when you're passionate about something, you have to be careful of that.
Right.
But so I pretty much decided I was going to retire. Took 3 days off, and then a book idea came to me. I wrote the book. I had 4 authors on it within a matter of a year, and went with one of them. The book was published, and it was called The 4-Star Diet, based upon the wisdom of General Colin Powell and other ridiculously brilliant leaders, which is more of a leadership book than a diet book, specifically for women. And then I started getting reviewed by various major media outlets like the Huffington Post and Fox News and a whole other group of people that I had somewhat come to know, but not as closely as I would eventually come to know.
Right.
and I'd end up writing for them. And then that writing ended up where I am today, which is recognizing another hole in the marketplace and filling it, and onto my next fun project and business, and growing very rapidly success.
Incredible, incredible. We will talk about the success of that in a moment. But what would you say to business owners out there who may be listening, that they are trying to build their business, and all of a sudden, a tragic happens, just like what happened in your life? You lost your husband, during that time, still at a very young age. To cancer, of course, which is terrible. What would you say to people in that situation?
Well, I think, in my case, I concentrated on the fact that I was the one left behind, and I had the opportunities to live, and so with that was a better position to be put in than what he had dealt with, because he wasn't here anymore to watch his kids grow up, or to face the challenges that come along with having a business. You always have to look at it this way: negativity is never going to help you. Getting down on the doldrums is never going to help you. The only thing you can do, the best thing you could do, is to remain positive. And I know that's tough, especially in challenging times, but that's the only thing that's going to help you dig your way out of that moment in particular. I'd say the grave, but I didn't want to, go down that road. But that's the fact. And you know what? Every challenge that you face will help you somewhere down the line. So you have to dig your heels in, because entrepreneurship is not for the weak, and it will separate. These challenges will separate you from, the men from the boys, and the women from the girls, so to speak. And you know what? It's you have to either rise up and show that you have something to give that people really need, whether it be in character or in product and service, or all three, or you don't and you fail. And that's just the bottom line. This world is not kind. And so you have to be able to stand up and show your strength, and realize, as long as you have a challenge in front of you, you have an opportunity.
Incredible. I like, that outlook to what you're doing. And of course, it pays off. Now you're running, you're giving back, to the communities we are going to be talking about in a few minutes. Other than that, how did you turn things around? We know here that you managed to encourage yourself to move on, but what did you have to learn to take on two companies, actually three companies? What skills did you have to develop?
What skills I had to learn to delegate. I had to learn to have faith in myself. And I had to learn that what everybody else always told me all the time, because when you're young and you're facing something you don't know, you've never done before, there will be a million people that come out of the woodwork and tell you how to do it, and be successful in it, and they're doing it themselves, or they cannot. But the fact of the matter is, what I came to learn is most of what I learned from people, and that's not to say all people, because I had certain mentors that really did help me, and I listened to them, but because I already trusted them. But there are a lot of people that tell you, you know nothing, and they know everything, and I've learned in my life that I would say 99% of the time, this might sound cocky, but it is the way it is. I was right and they were wrong. And so you've got to become, very comfortable with being in your own skin and doing it the way you need to do it. That doesn't to say you don't listen, but you have to make the final decision, and you have to live and die by that decision. So that was one of the things I had to realize as time went on. Keeping priorities straight is another, because if you lose your priorities, and that's a real challenge sometimes, especially when you have children and maybe a wife or husband home, or not. You have to be able to keep your priorities straight and feel as if you're maintaining the character, integrity, and credibility that you want. And also, because you don't want to walk back in the door one day, not be able to look yourself in the eye, and then also not be able to look your children in the eye because you failed them because they don't know you. Because there's nothing in this world that is so important. There's no business that's so important that you lose touch with your family and the people who love you and need you. There's just not. And so there's always, and what's great about this world is right now the way it is it makes it very easy, comparatively to years ago, that you can remain in touch. You have all this technology and take advantage of the technology. But there's nothing also, you can't replace, being in front of each other and that time spent either. So
Yes.
You have to figure out that balance. And that will fuel your passion to continue back and continue to break ground.
Yes.
Becoming too skewed, you'll eventually, it will bite you eventually, and you'll feel it.
Yes, you mentioned something very important, which I think our listeners must take notice of. Like during that hard time, when your husband moved on, you had to tend to your mentors. What role did they play during this difficult time for you as an entrepreneur or as a business person?
You know what? There were moments when I obviously felt as if I couldn't do this because
Right.
I had not done it, and that's just being human.
That's
And
right.
I remember one of my mentors, who's a good friend, and he had been in his own business for years and quite successful.
Right.
He said to me, "Laura, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going." And it's true. And so I always kept that close to me, and that when the going was getting tough, I needed to keep going, and I needed to get going, and I needed to not worry about failure, but to keep my eye on success, keep my eye on what's important.
That's
And
right.
and so that's where they really shined. No one actually physically put their hand to my business and lent it, but they certainly watched out for me, and they certainly propped me up when they needed it.
Incredible. There you have it. And I can honestly say that if I did not have mentors in my own life, I couldn't have done what I've done. Given the roadblocks that you meet, which I'm sure Laura is going to talk to us about other major roadblocks in running a business in a moment. But just hearing Laura speak about, mentors in such a critical time as a business startup, is one of those things that I think every business owner needs to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to another set of questions I have here. You started three business. In fact, you witnessed three business being, you actually were part of that. What are the main roadblocks that you faced, or that any business owner can potentially face?
My gosh, getting through the learning curve quick enough where you actually can compete. Because there's a timing on every business, at least the beginning of it, getting a business going, especially in the businesses I was in. Technology moves so quickly, you need to learn it and get involved and get there, or you're going to, what does it say? Grow fast or die in technology. And
Right.
And it's true. And so that was one of them. The other is trying to cope with people who were very eager to put me out of business. And that's scary. I mean, I had, received, as far as like even threats from other companies, we're going to put you under if you don't, sell us your client list. And that was frightening to me. And I had to just learn to shake that off. Shaking off things, certain things is so important. You got to learn which ones you need to and which ones you have to really take seriously. So, so that was another thing. And then being able to find good people. Because good people, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but good people and good fits are hard to find. So if you do, you have to make sure you take care of them.
Still on that, one question I hear from many people actually that I get to do life with here that are beginning on this journey, they ask, how do you identify good people to include in your business? Would you provide a possible answer to that?
Yeah, that's a real tough question. That's one of the toughest questions to actually answer, in my opinion, because it's you go through the process of vetting, and you go through the process of interviewing and talking and checking and then inevitably you do have those moments where you make a mistake. And there's no real reason why you should, because everything on paper and everything you've heard is great. So I think the first thing you have to do is realize that no matter who you hire, they may or may not work out. Period. They may be great in one particular position somewhere else and not be that great in yours because it's a different company, it's different circumstances. So I think the first thing that I look for is passion in someone. Do they have passion for what I'm talking with them about? Do they have passion? Have they had passion in their own life? I think also what I look for is someone who's more of a long-term personality. They like to get into things long-term and to commit their time and their work more long-term. I like stick around, and that's a great thing. You don't want to lose good people, as I said. Yes. And then thirdly, can you take one of the most important things I always want to, I can't babysit you. Okay. So if I can't babysit you, that means you need to be self-directed. And if you're not self-directed and can bring something to me that's beneficial in that regard and in others, I can't hire you because I can't babysit you. I don't have the time, and I'm not going to put people in the room to babysit you either. I'm not there, you want to get paid for babysitting, go get a job babysitting,
Yes.
So the thing is, those are three. And you know what? And the fourth may sound harsh too, but it's a reality. Fire quickly. If you're going to fire, you got an indication that you need to fire quickly, because you can't bear the weight of someone dragging along and giving them the next chance, and the next chance, the next chance. That's a real problem. People don't, they're frightened of doing it there because of all the ramifications that could come with it. Be very, diligent in the hiring and carry through and firing process, but fire quickly.
Incredible. Thank you for that. Now, you, like we've just been talking about, that you started companies. At what point did you have, say, your initial breakthrough as a startup company?
Well, in the tech companies, we had landed this huge client fairly early on, called Fiduciary Trust Company, and how we had landed that was we were brought in through another consultant and to relieve him because they were working him 24/7, and we created friends and that gentleman, and he literally launched our company based on that alone. In the Wumblers, when I landed my first U.S. broadcaster, that's when I knew that I had something. And then really, thereafter, started landing more broadcasters internationally and licensees and the media started, coming on, and that was great. And for me, for this venture, it's having my first interview was really my launching pad, and that was with Andre Bocelli.
All right.
Yeah, the recognition from him as this is something that was worth doing, just confirmed in my mind, that my hunch was completely sound.
Incredible. And are you in the US or Canada? Our listeners might be interested.
I'm in the US.
Awesome. It's quite obvious to me that you've been around the block. Is there any particular story, that you would like to share that really sums up your early experience as a business startup?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I was doing an interview for a major resource, and one of the questions that I was asked is, how are you doing this? How are you landing all these celebrities, and how are you landing all these interviews, and how are you doing this? And I basically said, I just find out who to call them up and ask. And I think that's the trick in being an entrepreneur and a more of a seasoned person in business, is you go through enough of the battle, so to speak, that you lose your fear. And certainly I lost my fear. One of the things that, when I lost my husband, I lost my fear because I didn't have time to have fear. And so it was sink or swim. So I've learned just to ask. When I want something, I need something, I want to talk with somebody or whatnot, I pick up the phone, I just ask. And I think many entrepreneurs are frightened to actually be, because they're saying, oh, they'll be aggressive, that they're too aggressive. No, it's not. If people want to say no, they'll say no. But that doesn't stop you from asking. And more of the time, they'll say yes. But you have to be out there and ask for what you want. And so that's one of those really important lessons to learn that I would recommend learning earlier rather than later. Ask.
Yes, absolutely. Ask for what you want. Somebody once said to me that if you don't ask, you don't get. And, don't refuse on behalf of somebody. Give the people an opportunity to say no, an opportunity to say yes. And 9 times out of 10, if you ask the right way and you've been on the go, you've got something of value to offer people, something that really can contribute in other people's lives, they will say yes, because people are looking for people who will take the initiative, and ask. So, what you're sharing there is of incredible value, to our audience. So let's just, talk a little bit about the startup world. Is there any difference what it is right now compared to when you got into business?
Well, I'm in a different side of the industry, so obviously there are differences in this side now.
Yes,
I think it's less brick and mortar, so to speak, in my now versus then. I'm in online social media and an e-sign, so it makes it easier for me to do this, because obviously it allows me to be able to do the other things that I need to do in my life, like continue to raise my kids and be involved in their lives and whatnot. So I think that is a benefit. But there are gluts, and because it is it's an easier landscape to start a business in because of technology, and it can be harder because there's so many of those that you have to beat out. So, getting above that noise is something that has become extremely hard today. And, and that's where, you really have to develop the skills as a marketer, or in order to be heard and make the connections and whatnot. So I think in that way, the startup world is vastly different than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when you had that open hole, so to speak, where, not everybody was trying to jump in it with you. And so that's, I think, the biggest difference that I see And I think you need a heck of a lot less capital today if you do it smartly. Whereas I think you needed more previously. Things are becoming more savvy all the way around. And so you can literally start a business on a cents a dime and be effective.
Incredible. If you were speaking to somebody who is, considering getting into business at this point, what would you say to them?
Love it. Love the idea. Love the idea because you're going to be doing it a lot, and expect to work very, very hard. But do not go into any business ever until you've analyzed the landscape. Because a lot of people go into businesses thinking, oh, I love doing this, but there's no demand for it. You've got to find a demand. That's the first and foremost thing. If you can find a hole, even better. But, it's like my marketing teacher used to tell me, you can go to a store and they can have broccoli on sale for, 5 cents. Well, if you don't eat broccoli because you hate it, it doesn't matter what it's, the cost of it is, you're never going to buy it. And so you have to seek out what people need and fill that need,
Right.
and you know what? Figure out a skill or something about what you're offering that makes you unique. Because even if you want to go into a business where there might be, high competition, you have to have something that's unique that the other guy who's looking at the business saying, do I want this one or that one? Say, no, I need this person for this particular reason. So in some ways you have to be able to have the general skills. In other ways, though, you need to be very unique.
Incredible. Really appreciate our time with you today. But before we go, I have this burning desire to know about your latest project you're working on, because it has to do with giving back. I'm very passionate about giving back to the community. In fact, we here at World Outsourcing Solutions, are actively giving, or looking after the children. I am, if I could say at this point, responsible for 40 children in the Philippines that I, send to school and do all that sort of thing. So I'm very, very passionate about that. Would you talk to us about your project, Laura?
Sure. Well, the venture is called Thread M.B. It's an e-zine. And what we do is we interview social media moms, whether it be mom bloggers, YouTube influencers, or whatnot. And we combine those interviews with interviews from celebrities in entertainment, media, business, politics, medicine, and the nonprofit world. Those sectors that we cover continue to grow because we have such a demand for spaces in the e-zine from various celebrities. And the point of it is we're bridging the gap between the two groups to better the world and allow them to do it together, because each of these groups has something in common. And that one thing in common is that they all have some sort of passion for a social cause or a cause-based organization that is helping the world in some way. So in combining these two groups, you're combining strengths and expanding the exposure around not only the groups themselves, but also the charitable organizations or whatnot, social cause organizations that are giving back in some way. And we ourselves also, we launched a grant that gives back to widows and their children, something I'm very passionate about, and helps to stand in for the fathers that are no longer there. And, I'm a big believer that, we're all one big family in this world, and we all need to help each other raise each other's kids, and then also to help each other save the planet and whatever way we can to put in so that, we better, the world overall. And so that's what it's all about. And the success has been pretty flooring to me even. I knew it was a there was a hole in the marketplace and it needed to be filled through years of experience and working in various aspects of the marketplace. Never in my life did I ever think that, the number of people that would hop on board would come with names that are just so very significant and push us along and support us in the way that they have. So they're great interviews. I've, been told, a number of different ways and times that I ask questions that nobody seems to ask. And I've actually interviewed a number of people who were in the business of asking questions themselves, and they've asked if they could steal some of my questions, because I really try to get to the heart of the person and give them a safe place to go to share. And I think that comes across. And so, we've done everything from, as I said, Andre Bocelli to Colin Mockery to Lauren Daigle to Josh Lebs to, oh my gosh, it's the King Singers. We're scheduled all the way into 2017 already with interviews from both sides of the coin, social media moms and celebrities. So, and then we have other writers that write editorials and different interesting articles that make sense and fit the personality of the entity. So it's a Thread M.B. So it's been something. It's been a whirlwind, and we already have some of our strategic partners in place. Different media organizations and also other social media groups that are pushing us along and wanting to be involved and all that kind of good stuff. So it's like I said, it's grown rapidly, and we're sort of definitely adhering to the principle of grow fast or die. That's for sure.
Incredible. Incredible. Really appreciate your time in hearing the success you've had, from just running a business to now initially with your husband, and now, where you're running on your own, making huge contribution, to the community. It's such wonderful that you can do that and inspire our audience today on what you're doing. Are there any final thoughts maybe to share with business owners and those aspiring business startups?
Sure. My final words would be enjoy what you do. Enjoy what you do. That's the most important thing. Enjoy what you do, because you're going to be doing it a lot. And remain passionate about it. Don't get discouraged. Those down moments, just work your way through them, because they're preparing you for the larger opportunities ahead. You're not going to have larger opportunities coming your way unless you have faced the challenges that lead into them, and that's a truth, because you're never going to hop to the next level unless you prove that you're worthy of doing so. Right. And so keep that in mind as every new challenge comes your way. Realize that it's opening the door to the next, to growth and the next opportunity. Incredible.
And where can our listener find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, they can go to threadmb.com, which is threadmb.com. And through that website, they can find a contact page, and they can contact me through that page, and I will definitely get the email for sure.
Amazing. Thank you, Laura, for a great interview. And I'm sure all our business owners in our audience today have learned a lot based on how you got started on this journey and how you've managed to stay on the course, made a huge contribution to the community. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise. And for our audience, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate your continued support and sharing this message around. I'm Yeukai Kachidori, and thanks for joining World Outsourcing Solutions podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yeukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.